Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutation to all the brothers out there pushing his word of sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping his word of sincerity and in truth. Okay, I wanted to go into two articles, quick lesson into these two articles I seen today. Basically, both of them going into polygyny, or at least a form of it. You know, of course they say polygamy, but I think they define polygamy as, you know, multiple partners, but polygyny as the man having multiple wives. See, it says polygamy, the practice of or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. But a woman having multiple husbands is unlawful. That's adultery, and that's worthy of death. But a man having more than one wife, that's lawful, according to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, as long as none of his wives are married or have a husband already, you know. But as I'm gonna read these articles real quick, and then I'm gonna get up, you know, just Isaiah 4:1, you know. But it says, this influencer wants other women to accept polygamy. I don't see love as something that has to be divided. Will Lucia Hooks Marcus is offering a personal and philosophical perspective on polygyny. See, here we go. Polygyny. Polygamy in which a man has more than one wife. That's polygyny. And that's how it's supposed to be. A form of non-monogamous relationship structure in a recent Instagram post and video. Now, I don't know anything about these people. I don't know if they actually doing it the right way or not. But it's just, you know, something you see for black women or so-called black women, which, you know, I'm pretty sure the last one is so-called black woman. Southern Kingdom women look like, and the Israelite man looks like, having multiple wives. And this is becoming the new, not even the new, the renewed norm, because this was a common practice in the earth. We're going back to the original way. This is not something new. We're going back to the original way of how it's supposed to be. And it's nothing about not loving the first wife and not loving your other wives or anything like that. Like, women have to be emotionally mature in order to handle that, because that's a part of your salvation. In order to be saved, you're going to have to be emotionally mature enough to understand your husband is going to have other women that he loves. And you're going to have to deal with that. Now, it says in her message, Marcus says she believes that love is not diminished by being shared. A viewpoint she said is rooted in abundance rather than scarcity. I don't see love as something that has to be divided to be real, she wrote. Now this is the point. It says, expanding on the idea in an accompanying video, Marcus used a vivid analogy to explain her thinking, comparing love to a valuable resource like gold, and it's something that she used, gold. It says she described a scenario in which giving someone a piece of gold does not reduce its overall value, but instead allow more people to benefit from it. She's comparing gold to a man, as that's what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai has done. In Isaiah, my favorite scripture, Isaiah 13:12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. And that the man that it's talking about is a man of the Lord. The men of the Lord will be more precious than fine gold. So it's you know, it's something that she compared or used the analogy of gold being shared and it's not losing its value, because this is a direct representation of the men of the Lord. You know, the 144,000 and the 1/3 men that the Lord will have mercy on and deliver from America. And then you got the scattered elect around the four corners of the earth. It says, if I have a whole piece, giving someone a piece doesn't take away from the gold that I have. Right. If she's sharing her husband with another woman, that doesn't mean that husband will love her less or anything. As a matter of fact, there are laws to protect women from experiencing that. You know? Let me see. Food, raiment. This is Exodus 21:10. If he, an Israelite man, take him another wife, or a man in general, but the laws was given to the Israelites. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. Now let's get that in what the NIV. yeah, the NIV, if he marries another woman, he must not deprive the first of one of her food, clothing, and marital rights. Right. And even in the NLT, it says if a man who has married, and it says a slave wife, but it ain't necessarily got to be no slave wife or nothing like that. Just because it was going into that, but it don't necessarily have to be that. You know, if the man marries another wife or another woman, or if a man takes and has married another wife and takes another wife for himself, he must not neglect the rights of the first wife to food, clothing, and sexual intimacy. So going back to what she said right here, it says if I have a whole piece, giving someone a piece doesn't take away from the goal that I have, she explained. Marcus also addressed common misconceptions about polygamy, noted that many people view it as chaotic or lacking structure, which the Lord gave us polygyny. So how is it lacking structure or chaotic? Being monogamous is what's chaotic and lacking structure, because it puts more pressure on both the man and the woman to handle responsibilities that can be issued out amongst many women. You know, like having multiple kids. You think a man want to just have 2-3 kids? No. We can have kids to the day we die. You know, unless something happened to us. We can have kids all the way up until our old age. A man is going to want to keep reproducing. That's what we were created to do. The Lord created us to reproduce. You know, it says instead she emphasizes that such relationships require a high level of personal discipline and emotional awareness, right, on both parts, but mainly on the woman. Well, especially for the woman. Say it like that, because personal discipline, you can't be upset if that man deal with another woman. You can't decide to where you gonna go deal with another man because he ain't there with you that night, or he ain't with you at the moment. And again, emotional awareness. You can't let your emotions ruin what you a part of, because that's a family. You know, you got to look at these other women as family members, not just women that this man having sex with. And that's what women think. They think a man just want to get with these other women just to have sex. Like, no. A man in his right mind, we want other women to deal with other women to build families with, you know. And it's one big family. You're under our umbrella. You know, each individual man, you're going to be under his umbrella. So all his kids, you got to look at them as yours. You got to help raise them, help take care of them, because that's what the other women will do. And y'all all work together to help forward this man's legacy. That's what it's all about. So it does take a lot of a high level of personal discipline and emotional awareness. It says you have to be committed to yourself first in order to be committed to multiple people. Right. So you have to do a lot of self-development in order to understand what it takes to be in a situation like that. But a lot of women are not even mentally thinking about that right now, you know, but they're going to be forced to, at least the ones that want to be saved. So it says her comments come as she teases a more in-depth public discussion about her personal experiences with polygyny. So they are doing it right, which she indicated will be shared on her YouTube platform. And of course, you know, a lot of people come against it. A lot of people are like, nah, they can't do it. But there's a lot of women that say that now, but they ain't gonna have no choice later. Now I got one more. It says Nikki Glasser confesses she doesn't care if her boyfriend elfs another woman if he uses protection. I'm cool with it. Cheat on me. Now, this is more of a weird form of polygyny, because this is not even really polygyny. This is more so just a woman cool with her man having sex with other women. But she talking about as long as no emotions get involved. So it says comedian Nikki Glasser turns heads after revealing she's surprisingly unbothered by the idea of her boyfriend sleeping with other women, as long as it doesn't cross into emotional territory where it's supposed to. A man, he's gonna love multiple women, and if you think that man just doing it for pleasure, you know, I guarantee you at least one of those women he probably started to have affection for, you know. But it says during a candid appearance on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper, the 41-year-old opened up about her unconventional dynamic with longtime partner Chris Convey. Uh, and why physical cheating doesn't faze her, which is not cheating. You know, there's no such thing as cheating. The only thing there is committing adultery. And that's only when a married woman gets with another man that's not her husband, or a man deals with a married woman. That's what's adultery. That's what's considered a cheating. But a man dealing with a woman that doesn't have a husband, even if he already has one, that is not adultery or cheating. That's lawful according to the eyes of the Lord. Now, I'm gonna just read a little bit more. It says, Glasser didn't hold back when discussing her stance on monogamy. In a relationship, I don't really care if my boyfriend were to hook up, she admitted, but that is not a two-way street. I'm not someone who likes to hook up when I'm in a relationship. I don't really care about that, but I don't care if someone else were to. In fact, I kind of like it. It's a problem. It says she doubled down with even more shocking remark. I don't care if my boyfriend F another girl. I'm cool with it. Cheat on me. You know, Glasser clarified that as long as there's no deeper attachment and protection is used, she sees no issues. See, a lot of women are coming around to the idea, because they know their man gonna do it anyway. They coming around to the idea of a man dealing with other women. But in this case, she don't want him to actually take on another wife, but that's how it's supposed to be, and that's what's gonna happen. You know, it's gonna happen. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's gonna happen. Women don't put no stipulations on nothing. The woman is below the man first and foremost, so you don't have a say so. And then secondly, this is the order that the Lord created. The Lord created us biologically to love multiple women, but he also created us to take care of it. We just read it, Exodus 21:10. It said if you take another wife, because sex is marriage according to the Bible, if you take another wife, the duties of the first wife you can't diminish. You got to take care of both of them. Those women are your responsibility, and you still got to have sex with both of them. You know, but women, and it comes with emotional ties too. You know, you're gonna love your wife, but women don't put stipulations on anything. I'm gonna read this last little bit. It says, I know how lame it come across. This is separate than the soulmate thing. She said, I don't care if like a guy has a sexual connection with a girl and he was to use protection and just have sex with her for a night. I literally wouldn't care if my husband did that. Right. So anyways, like I said, Isaiah 4:1. Real soon, real soon. And that day, 7 women, 7 is completion, shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. They'll take care of themselves, just like now. You know, women making their own money. A lot of them got their own place. You know, they fix their own food or do whatever it takes to take care of themselves. But they're single. They're lonely. They don't have a man. They go to bed at night with themselves, by themselves, and got to please themselves. They're not being touched. They're not feeling intimacy. So it says, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. And see, in the AMP, it says, take away our shame of being unmarried. All of that comes with being a shame of being unmarried. You're not being touched, not having physical intimacy, emotional connection. All of these things matter to a woman, it matters to a man too, but it matters more so to a woman because this is a part of your purpose. It's a part of why you were created. And you got a lot of women that don't have children. It's a part of why you were created. So when you don't have the things that you were created to do, it bothers you. It messes with you. Even if they don't want to admit it, it does, because it's biological. Just like with a man. A man has natural desire to want to deal with and have other women, and it bothers him when he is restricted to monogamous relationship, because it's biological, and it's a simple concept. A lot of people really don't understand how simple this concept really is, but whether they do or not, they will. It's not our problem. We understand this, and we're going to keep moving, So Lord will is the edifying lesson. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing his word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping his word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.